Welcome back. Max Action here. And today I was talking with some friends and I asked them a very important question. I said, what scares you right now? What is it that you're scared to do in your business as a creator? What's really being the thing that is holding you back? And the thing is whenever we have something that's scary to us, I'm of the belief that that's the one thing that you need to do right now. Because if it's scary to you, that's something where you're afraid to actually take a step forward. You have some limiting beliefs around that. And some of that might be a limiting belief around your ability to succeed, your knowledge. It's something that's scary that pushes you outside of your comfort zone. But as we've said before, it's being outside your comfort zone. That's where the growth is. And it's encouraging for you to step outside that comfort zone, to do something before you think that you're capable of it, because that's when the growth is going to happen. But the more time that you give thinking about something rather than acting on it, the greater the chance is that your mind's going to come up with all the reasons that you shouldn't do it. It's going to get scared. It's going to be thinking that doesn't feel comfortable at all. So when it comes time to doing something that's going to be scary, it's better to do it quickly. Act quick. Do what you fear most, and then see what happens. Because most of the time, we'll confront a fear and realize we were afraid of nothing the entire time. And now here's a quote from Ralph Waldo Emerson. He said, "He who is not every day conquering some fear has not learned the secret to life." This is the secret to life, according to Ralph Waldo Emerson. Being able to live in a fearless capacity, being able to not be controlled by fear, to not have fear direct you as to what you can or can't do. Because when you confront that fear that you have, the biggest fear that you have, not something that you just kind of don't want to do, not something that you just think it's going to be boring, you don't want to actually follow through with it, but something that's creating actual fear for yourself. When you think about doing it, you get a little bit queasy saying, I'd really rather not. That's extremely uncomfortable for me. I don't even want to think about doing it. That's the fear that you've got to confront. That's the fear that's going to cause you to grow, that's going to push you out there. A lot of times thinking about what's scaring you, and people say, well, nothing really. I can't really think of anything right now. But I want you to start thinking about what scares you the most to do that would likely move your business forward. And then start looking at that. So what happens with fears when we have them and we say we just don't want to take action on it? We avoid those types of things. And there's several different types of avoidances that I want to talk to you about. So number one is situational avoidance. That's just avoiding the situation. So if you know that you've got to be creating content at 2:00, you just so happen to have something else going on and you avoid that situation. You avoid going to where it is you need to go. Sometimes you have people that avoid situations where they know that an X is going to be at a certain coffee shop at a certain time. So they just avoid the situation altogether. Sometimes people stop showing up to work because they're fearful of what's happening and they just avoid the situation. Avoiding the situation does not make it go away. Then there's also emotional avoidance, where you just don't want to even think about it. You just push it out of your mind. You start focusing on everything else and just avoiding the situation altogether. Sometimes that comes down to when you've got to make a big decision and you just keep pushing it off. I'll decide later. I don't want to think about that right now. And then other times you have avoidance that comes in the form of procrastination, just over preparing for different things, even for perfectionism, saying I'm going to procrastinate on it. I know I need to do it, but I'm just going to do it later. Perfectionism, saying this is not perfect yet. From a creator standpoint, that could be filming a video 15 times and then still not publishing it, simply because you're saying it's not done yet. Or even over preparedness, saying, my video's not ready to be shot yet. I'm still writing the script. I'm still editing it, and just over preparing. Those are all forms of avoidance. So, what's the only way for us to really be able to overcome this fear that we have? Because remember, the fear is what's holding you back. The fear is what's keeping you from growing into becoming that person that you want to be. And the only way to get over that fear and stop avoiding it is to full on confront that fear. Confront that thing that you feel. That thing that you feel is holding you back. That could be the source of your growth. And it's almost like Susan Jeffers says, where she says, you feel the fear and you do it anyway because you know it's going to be scary, but you step into that fear. So I want you to think of what fear you can step into, what you can take the first action on. Because remember, when we're taking action, we're not concerned with what the outcome is. We're concerned with taking the action toward it. Because the more times that we take action on something, especially confronting a fear, the less that fear has to be able to control us in the future. And what are you trying to avoid when you're fearful of something? Maybe that might be the fear of judgment, that somebody's going to think that your video is terrible. They're going to leave nasty comments. Maybe that fear of embarrassment. They leave nasty comments and other people laugh at it and agree. Maybe it's the fear of rejection, that you're going to go up and give your best and you're going to be vulnerable and somebody's going to completely reject everything that you stand for. Or maybe it's the fear of failure, that you're going to put everything you have into this and it's still not going to work out the way you want it to. It's still not going to produce the outcome that you want. Those are all valid fears. And yet those are all the valid fears that we have to confront. Because realistically, we might be so concerned about those things, and those things are likely never going to happen. And if they do happen, that's part of life. That's where we have the opportunity to grow and overcome that and become stronger because of it. Because remember, this is the secret to life. Being able to overcome those fears. Being able to grow as a person and experience everything life has to offer, rather than running away from it or avoiding it because we're afraid. Because we're afraid that we're not enough. We're afraid we're not good enough. We're afraid we don't know enough. We're afraid that there's some sort of lack. But there isn't. The only thing that we're lacking is action toward it, is action confronting it. Now, here is a fear that I have right now as of this recording. And when you see me in future recordings, you're going to realize that I have completely overcome it. But one of the biggest fears I have right now is the fear of walking up to random strangers and recording content with them for this channel and for the other platforms. Now, one of the biggest fears I had to overcome initially was just talking to the camera, was just recording out in public, because that produced a lot of anxiety for me, going, oh no, I'm one of those people that's holding their phone out in front of them and recording videos. But I had to get over that. So now I've conquered that fear. Now the next step is going to be going up to strangers and talking to them, coaching them, creating content with them. So this is going to be the next thing that I'm going to start taking action on, and I'm going to face that fear that I have. I'm going to push forward, and I'm going to start talking to new people, filming new content, and growing through the process. So here's going to be my strategy for doing that. I'm going to make a game out of it. The biggest thing is going to be walking up and just starting that initial conversation with somebody. So that's going to give me 1 point. And the game is going to be to generate as many points as possible. And then each day, I'm going to work on topping the previous day's point total. Now, why am I going to do this? Because I'm focused on just taking the action of doing it. Just going up and saying hi to somebody is going to count as 1 point, because I'm breaking through that idea that I can't do this, that I can't talk to random people, especially to ask them if we can film a piece of content. I think I'm going to actually do that, is going to be 1 point, is asking them, hey, can I film this interaction real quick? and I'm going to see how many I can get. I'm going to make a game out of it because when it's a game and it's going to be fun, I'm focused on just taking the action and asking the question, not the actual outcome. So now all of a sudden, I can't be rejected. I can't have this be a judgment on me because I'm just trying to get the action taken care of. I'm not worried about the outcome. So, what's the thing that you're going to do alongside me? What's the thing that scares you the most that you can start making it into a game? That you can start taking action and confronting that fear. And the more times that you confront it in a day, the more times you can compress into a shorter period of time, the quicker you can overcome that fear that you have. And the faster that you're going to grow as a coach, as a content creator, or whatever it is that your 90-day goal is. So I'm excited for this. I'm excited to be able to grow through this and to experience that joy of life. Experience the secret is what Ralph Waldo Emerson said. And I'm excited for you to experience it too. So I'm going to keep you informed on how I'm doing overcoming this fear. And I look forward, I'm going to actually share some content with you as well. So be looking forward to that because this is me committing to you. And I want you to do the same and get out there to really combat and confront that fear that you have. So I will see you in tomorrow's episode. Until then, think of that thing that scares you the most. And now take the first action step to go out, do it, talk to somebody new, and really start growing through that fear. So I will see you tomorrow. And until then, take action now.